go. And then
Test, test, test. All right.
yeah, so that should work.
Okay. Cool. Okay. I'll do everything in.
One time in my entire career.
Oh man, I'm just gonna end up doing it like this.
And even still, you had to make changes.
Well, you can look at the laptop.
I know, but this is.
It's just enormous.
Yeah, this is huge, and it's all I want to do. Okay.
Oh, you can move that recording thing down if you want. You grab onto this one and then just
Move it
yeah,
kind of
down
down here. Okay. I'm gonna put it away so you can't grab it, and it's gonna frustrate the
Don't-
shit out of you.
Is our dialogue
Okay, so we can never find it again.
Well, mine is anyway, for sure. Okay, gentlemen and ladies.
Don't look at this.
Okay, so I'll just start off, just give you a rough idea. I'll talk about how to make shapes and how to manipulate them, and then maybe go a little bit further into things that work well with After Effects. So, well, I'll just talk about the tools first. This is our direct selection tool. So if you have an object here, this just works like, direct. You can just move that around and it's fine.
Wait, can you pull out the toolbar things?
Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so you just select and you can move things around, and that's, that is what it is. But this is our direct select tool, and that'll allow you to move points. You have to click directly on the point there, so you can just move things around, and you can manipulate lines like that. And then back here, you can just move things around, and that kind of becomes really useful when you're editing. And then when you, and then you've got your, where is everything here now? God, I shouldn't have used the new one. Okay, so you got this tearaway, which works in conjunction with this. So if you click on your point, you've got your convert tool, and then you can just convert that to a curve or whatever. And then if you click once, it'll convert it back to a corner. And then you've also got your pen tool, which, one, it can draw objects like that, but also if you have something selected, you can use it to use this to add points like this, or you can take points away like this. That's how that works. And text tool works as usual, and these, if you hold down these, you've got all of these different options. Star tool is actually quite useful. I don't know if I want to talk about gradient meshes. No, probably not. And the gradient tool is just, works the same as Photoshop or whatever. It's nice and easy to use. Okay. Let me talk about, sorry. You know all of this stuff, right? Just had to pick your colors, your color selector. So on the top is the inside, and on the bottom is the outside. And then if you want to work with your strokes, this line here, and this kind of works through. That allows you to build strokes. And then there's a ton of options. If you go down here, you can dash your strokes if you want, or you can, round off your corners, or if you have caps, if you've got like, I did that wrong here. Where's the lead on this thing? There you go. So if you look at this, this is just a line here. So for instance, let me just turn this off. So all we have is a line, and this is the stroke on the line. But if you can change the caps at the end, so it can do different things, which kind of soften lines, which is nice to be able to do. And then where your stroke lives, it can live, right now it's in the middle of the actual line. So if you, damn it, hold on. If you look closely at the line, if you change this to oh, it won't allow me to do that. Hold on. Why is that not allowing me to do that?
It's got to be a completed shape to...
Oh, it does? It won't do that on the line?
No.
Oh. Well, there you go. I'm learning here too. So yeah, if you look here, once you click on these, where the stroke lives on the edge of the line here, on the inside or the outside. It's kind of like the shadows and things in Photoshop. It kind of works in the same way. That's kind of how that works. Other things are if you want to build complex shapes quickly, there's this thing called a pathfinder. So if you've got, say, you want to build, I don't know, this kind of a shape. Hold on, let me try this. You want to build this kind of shape, and you need to join things up, and you need to kind of quickly merge things. We've got this thing called a pathfinder.
Wait, can you tear away that sidebar too? It's cut off.
Is it this one?
Yeah. There it is.
Where's my pathfinder? There we go. So this is a pathfinder, really useful tool. So you'll see you can merge if you want, like this, or you can, if you select two things, you can take away. Now the thing that's on top is always the thing that gets taken away from the thing. So if I do, if I bring this to the back, and I do this, the thing that's on top always. Do you get it? So, oh yeah. So just to talk about the way Illustrator kind of layers, it does have layers, and that work like Photoshop. You can just build your layers, and you can lock them, and you can arrange things around in your layers, which are very useful when you're exporting to After Effects. For me, though, when I'm illustrating when I'm in illustration mode, I'm trying really hard to just work quickly. I just move things back and forth within the layer, so it has a kind of a natural layer order anyway. It kind of stacks things however you want to, and if you hit the control parentheses or square bracket, left one brings it back, right one brings it forward, and if you hit control shift, it brings it all the way to the front or all the way to the back. And so, often you're just like sliding things around, moving things back and forward, and it's a really quick way of working, and it's way quicker than trying to move something to a layer. Because if I've got two layers and I've got this here, and I want it up on this layer, or I want it to be on top, say right now it's behind, and I want it to be on top. To do it through the layers, I have to go like this and arrange. I need to click on the layer like this, arrange, and send to current layer. So now it's on top. But then if you do something like group them, it'll knock them both into the same layer. So for me, it's just easier to work in layers and then break out. But maybe other people have different ways of working through it, but that's just kind of how I function. So back to the Pathfinder, there's like, back to the Pathfinder, there's this one, which kind of takes the midpoint of the two where it intersects and just leaves you with what was common in both, and which is great. And then we've got this one, which takes out what's common in both. And there's a bunch of other options if you want to play it through them. They're all really useful, and they all have their own kind of functions. But this Pathfinder is one of the things I use the most, just because it's very good at creating complex shapes quickly. And then let me think. What else do you want to talk about?
I did design stuff for a primer. They give you a primer, and they're like, I want to make these characters on.
You want to make a character? You want to make a character?
Yeah,
okay, let's make a character. Okay. All right.
How to build it so you can actually animate it in After Effects.
Yeah. Okay. So say I wanted to make a guy's face. Actually, you know what I'll do? Let me just so you guys know, you can change all of these just so you can see it a little bit better. So there's a window. It's got a shortcut too. A hide transparency grid.
I've had that problem. Is that which draw down?
Oh, it's view.
Okay.
View. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anything that kind of controls your guides and everything, that's all in view. Rulers and stuff. Rulers are the same in Photoshop, Control R.
Your snapping tools are also in your view, which
Yeah.
isn't super intuitive.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. And then also it kind of does weird things with guides. They're not like, sometimes it locks the guides on its own for whatever reason, and the guides can actually be, so you can align to a guide. So if you have this, object, and Shift X flips is the shortcut for flipping your colors, right? So Shift X just, and then you can, if you select the two of these, the guide is kind of an object, so I can, using your normal align tools, where's my, oh, it's right there, okay. You can align to your guide, which is really useful for layout, for print and stuff like that, because once you set out your guides and everything, you can snap to them, and it's just really great. And the other thing it does when you've got your, also Alt allows you to copy directly, and if you Alt copy and then hit Shift, it'll move and align and snap to various points relative to the thing that you're copying. But what's really good is when you move it, it has live kind of snap points where you can just align on the fly, and it'll align to center points and edges and all sorts of things. So it's really good for that kind of stuff. And you can turn, I always have that on. Where is that? And you've got the snap to grid, and then I don't even know where that is, but yeah, you can lock your guides and you can hide your guides and all of that stuff. The other thing is hiding and showing is really useful too. So if you go to Control 2, that's lock. So what that does is it just instantly locks an object. So if you directly, and Control Alt 2 unlocks everything. So it's kind of a broad tool in that sense, that if I lock two of these things, I say Control 2 lock. Now I can't move either. I can't select them, but I can't unlock one of them. I have to unlock both because it's just this broad sweeping thing. The other thing is the hide tool. You can Control 3, that hides everything, and then Control Alt 3 unhides, or whatever. But again, it's everything or nothing. There's no surgical way to hide one thing, unless you put it on layers and you can hide your layers, which is, if that's the way you want to work, you can do that too. And so locking things is great. So if you're working on an object inside an object, and you kind of keep selecting this, just Control 2 lock it, and then you can work away with objects inside of that. So that's kind of cool. All right, so we're going to make a face, and let me just hide this. Okay. All right, so I'll do it. You know what I'll do? I'll do it using a shape like this, so you can kind of get a sense of how to build. Like if you want to, say, there's a couple of ways of doing things. If you want to like build a jawline, say, right, you can do something like this. Grab this guy and rotate it 5. And okay, so say that's a jawline that I want to make. So I'll put that there, grab this, hit your pathfinder. Actually, no, let me just do this first. Transform, and reflect, just that, and copy that, and move that over, and if you hold Shift, it locks it in the same place. And then if you're kind of worried about centering, Control G is a group, and you select the two, and then you hit your align, and then boom, now you know that you've got both of them centered and in the same place. So if you do this, I'll just do it this way for one first. Take that away. There's your guy's jawline, his chin and his jaw or whatever. If you want to, let me just make them a different color. So. Okay. And so say you want to add the top of his head. If you hold Shift, keeps keeps your circle regular, and then just move that down like that, and it'll snap because of the center point. You grab these two and just do that, and there's your shape. Say you think his head is too tall there. What you do is grab your direct select, drag a box, and it just grabs these points here. So you've got 3 points that this is working with now. And you can just move those around as you want to. So there we go. So this is our guys. Say we want to move this guy in. Alright, so there's our guy's rudimentary face. And the other thing we have actually, which is really useful, are these things. These are corner widgets. These are kind of new enough. They haven't been around that long, but they're really useful. So if I wanted to, say, round out these corners, I can do that. And now I've got nice round corners. So it allows you to just, you know, do something like that and just make everything like regularly rounded so that it all matches. But the other thing you can do is if you get your direct select tool and just do one, then you can, it's just one, you know. So let's round this guy off a little bit. Whoops. Okay. So say I want to create his nose next. I'll do something like this. I have no idea what this guy's going to look like, but maybe I'll give him a slightly reddish nose, like that, so you can kind of see. And I want to round this off a little bit. Now there are tools that already have rounded corners, like the rounded rectangle tool, that'll allow you to really control your options, and then you can go back in afterwards with the information thing, and you can change those. But for now, I'll just go this way. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's get the shape first, and then I'll round it. So what you can do is you can where am I going? Grab these and just move that. And then grab this. Just make sure when you select that, it selects all the points, and then when you hit the direct, to get to the corner widgets, you have to have your direct select tool selected. But if if you've got one selected like this, it still has this one selected here. So what you have to do is click off, click back on. Now you've got all 4 selected, and you can round your corners here like this. Now say you wanted to just, for me this is how I do this, I use the pen, and I'll just, if I want to do a shadow, I'll do something like this. Like that. Oop. Now I didn't finish that. So the other thing, I suppose, I'm kind of figuring this stuff out as I go, but the other thing that you may have issues with is not having complete lines. So say you do something like this, and so this is open here, and it can be an issue, if you swap that. You can see that it's an issue, and it can have an issue or it can be an issue when you're exporting to After Effects and 3D Studio and all of these things when your lines aren't closed. So if you've got 2 points that aren't closed, you select the 2 points like this, hit Control J, and then you've got it just like join or whatever, like Control J. That's how I think about it, and then that joins up.
That's what I want to know.
Oh, really?
Why didn't we just start the tutorial with that?
So
Close the box.
So this is, there's like a drop shadow on the guy's nose. Hold on, I'll make that a little bit lighter. It's kind of like that. And if I want to do, I don't know, I'll give him round eyes, and as like this. So one of the cool things about illustration, when you're trying to use shadows and things, that's when the Pathfinder comes into play. So say I want to make an eye, and I want to put a kind of a blue shadow down here. Oops. I want to, oh God, oh, sorry. Keep hitting the wrong button. I want to put a blue shadow down here, like I'll do a select, like this. Hold on, let me just darken this. And then I want to just get that sliver, so I'll just do another duplicate there. I'll grab this and then I use my pathfinder and then boom, and then you've got a nice kind of curved shadow. And you could do the same if you wanted to, like, say you wanted to highlight. So yes. So I want to work in his iris. That's still a bit. Just using shapes like this, I can build. Now I can do two things. You can either one, just turn them white, or two, you can just, you know, take them, depending on what you want to do. You can just use Pathfinder and, you know, make this a full object. So now you've got less objects in your scene, and that can make a difference in some things. Either way, it's, you know, it's there. Say I want to put a shine here at the top of his eye, do something like this. And as far as illustration things go, you know, when you're doing eyes and things like that, I never make an eye pure white, because then you can't highlight it. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything with light. So I'll always, you know, make it slightly blue, and then I'll shade using blues on white. It's almost like the same rules as when you're doing snow or something like that. The other thing we can do maybe is this. Okay, so just get to the transform menu. It's just right click, and then you can do a couple of different things. It's not as comprehensive like as Photoshop, so the perspective tools aren't there, but it's still pretty good. You can do lots with it. And then now, because I copied that, you'll see that it's in front of all of the rest of the eye. So what I want to do is I want to send that back into the back. So there you go. All right, so there's our guy. He's looking pretty shocked. So maybe I want to give him an eyelid. What I'll do is I'll grab this again, line it up, take that color, just using the color picker with his eye. I think it's the same in Photoshop. Control Shift and bring that right to the front, and then using my pen tool, I create this kind of a shape here, and select the two, and I hit Pathfinder, and boom, and there's like his eyelids, you know. And that's a quick way of doing it. You can also do things with masking. You can create masks, which I don't do very often, but it can be useful. So if you let me do this. So if I've got this, masking is kind of the opposite to Pathfinder, in that thing that's in front becomes the shape. So if you go to here and you make a clipping mask, boom, it takes the shape of the thing that's in front, and it creates a clipping mask. Now the thing about a clipping mask is it's non-destructive, so all the information is still there. And it is very useful for various things. And it's non-destructive, so I can go release from clip and mask, and there I've got my stuff back.
How would that react if you bring it in after?
That's kind of one of the reasons I don't use it very often, is because it can get funky. Usually, what it'll do is I think it kind of cuts it up. I'm not sure, because when I'm preparing stuff for After Effects, I just cut everything up and make sure that all the points are what they're supposed to be, and there's not any extra stuff lying around. Because you can, you can get into kind of working with this and kind of click all the way down. Because it's non-destructive, you can keep editing this thing while it's still within the clipping mask, right? And move things around. Yeah, I believe there is. I don't know, James. Do you know?
What's this?
Baking in a clipping mask.
No. You'd have to release it and then use the Pathfinder tool.
Yeah, I think so. I'm thinking.
So like clipping mask is more for like print kind of stuff, or
It's what?
it's more for like print stuff rather than like.
Yeah.
Sort of like staging, and also it works better if you're mixing raster and vector images.
Yeah, exactly. Because it works as a mask in the same way that After Effects and Photoshop does, so that you can, and it'll mask anything.
Yeah.
You know. But if you're working directly with points, I always use Pathfinder just because it's already done. The work is done. You know, when you do that. But it has its uses too. Yeah.
It's better to bring the full object into After Effects and do your masking in there.
So if we want to group this, Control G, and then I say I want to transform that and I want to reflect it off to the other side, I can do across the vertical, and then it kind of reflects it across its pivot point. And Illustrator is kind of weird, and I'll show you just some kind of stuff that you need to know about when you're working with it. So if you group these two, select this, and maybe select his nose, and say you want to align this and center it. There we go. Let me move this a little bit. Maybe I'll do his mouth. I'll use the pen or the pencil tool to do his mouth. The pencil tool is an interesting tool. It's like the pen tool, but you can draw freehand, and it kind of makes up and figures out all of the curves for you, and you can play with it and you know, change how much it'll alter once you finish it. But you can kind of do some really complex shapes quite quickly. It's what I use a lot if I'm drawing over a face, if I'm doing like like an illustration of a real person's face. I'll use the pencil tool a lot just because it's really quick, and for inside shadows, for kind of around here, if I wanted to draw a shadow here, I want to make him tired and put bags under his eyes or whatever, I can draw this. Again, try to just make sure that it can be a little bit finicky when you're trying to close the line. But let's just send that back now. And obviously, when you group something, that becomes a group on the same plane, so that when you're moving something backwards and forwards, it jumps the entire group, not just the objects within the group. So if I want to do, whoops. And the good thing about a face like this is when you're building it in After Effects, you can do really cool things like you can group his whole face, and then if you want him to look, you can move. You know what I mean? Which is kind of cool. And then you can set up mouths, and you can do face shapes, and you can use sliders to change the mouth shape and all of that stuff. It's cool. So okay, I'm going to do his mouth. So let's do something like this. I don't have my stylus here, so this is going to be a bit wonky. That's, say that's his, for now, that's his mouth. So using the pencil tool. And sometimes it takes a bit of work to get used to it, because you do something like this. You'll draw something and it won't join it up automatically, so you have to kind of sometimes redraw it, or sometimes you have to direct select a line.
When you're redrawing that line, are you holding down a control key or anything?
No, I'm just the mouse button. Sorry.
So if you redraw it over top of another pencil tool, it will automatically fill it in for you?
Yeah, you have to make sure that the object is selected. And then you can just work away and just do whatever you want. And it's a good way for doing shadows on photos, just because you can do this. You can draw a little bit and go, oh, it goes down here, and you can just sculpt it almost, which is really useful. But the thing is that it's pretty inaccurate, and it's inefficient with points. So a lot of what you do in Illustrator is try to be as efficient as possible with points. So you try to get a curve done in as few points as possible. And the pen.
Use the smoothing tool after you use the pencil as a way to really trim down points that you've got.
Yeah.
It's a tool called the smoothing tool. Should be having the pencil tool as well. It's
Yeah.
like a pencil with like some tools.
This thing.
You can literally just like paint across it and then
Okay. But I think for me, if you're really looking for accuracy, it's better just to use your pen tool and move your points and just try to keep it as minimal as possible from the out, just because you just get it right the first time. You know. So, and then say I wanted to add a little bit of a shadow here, say with this mouth. So if I draw something like this, a shape here like this. And what I want to do is, I know this probably looks a bit weird right now, but what I want to do is I'm looking at this bottom edge here on this one, and I want to add to that with this shape. So what I'll do is, say if I darken this, and there's a shadow, what I'll do is, I want to duplicate this. And then using your pathfinder, using this one, boom, whoops, wrong one. What am I doing? Oh, no, I've lost it. There. There, and there's your, so there's your shadow for underneath for the inside of his lip. And yeah, that's kind of that. And then you just keep going. Say you want to do ears. Hold on, right, let's maybe use a different shape here. Let's use a rounded rectangle tool. And move this in a little bit. Curves and so say I want to define his ear again. I want to kind of give that ear a little bit of a shadow to say that it's behind his head. Also, sorry, if you want, like, there's shortcuts for all of these tools too, like M, ellipsis L. You have to go out. You have to go into the menu to grab the rounded tool, but you use circles and squares the most. So the shortcut M is really useful. So you just hit M or L if you want a circle. So you do this, and use your pathfinder again and take that away. Send that to the back. Plus one there. There's like a shadow you can work with. Now this shadow stretches, right? So if you were doing, say you want to turn a face and you've got his, you need to make sure that the shadow stays there. Sorry, I shouldn't have really grouped that. But if I want to move his face, the shadow is there. Now in After Effects you can reset these. You can control your own shadows and slow them down and do whatever you need if you want to. But it's just a handy thing to have, so it just makes like if you animate the ears too, it feels like his whole head is turning, And that's kind of it then. Hold on, let me give him a neck. Again, same idea. Send that to the back. Say you want the neck to feel like it's stepped back. Select these, like that, align them like this. And say I just want a shadow coming across here. Now a lot of this is illustration technique too, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of you guys with this stuff, but grab this, and so there, now he's got a shadow, and that's really thick. Now, what's usually a good rule of thumb if you're going to be animating a character, or what I've found is, if you want to kind of make sure that you don't have sharp edges when you move things, I'll put a curve in here on the top of it, like this. And now when if I rotate his face to the You know, if I rotate it around like this, it'll still have this curve on it, so it doesn't stand out as much. Oops. Okay, so there's our guy. So say I wanted to export him now into After Effects, and I want to separate out all the little bits and pieces so that, you know, your animator has control, or if you want to have control over everything. What I would do is I group them the way I want them. So what the? Sorry. Weird. This is acting up. I don't know why. So, anyway, so I grouped them the way I want them. Why is this acting like this? So say I want the eyelids to be separated. I want it to blink. So what I would do is, really, if I want it, I suppose I should really set this up as okay. So I'll lock this. I want to play with the eyes, so I just locked his whole head. I'll group these. And just what is up with this? I've never seen this before. This is new. You seen this before, James?
What's that?
Have a look at this arrow here. It's acting up. Have you seen this before? This arrow?
No.
No idea what this is. Maybe they added something to it in the last.
You're not in isolation mode. It's the only thing I can.
No, I'm not. No, it's weird.
Do you have cap locks on?
Yep. Sure.
Anyway, I'll keep going. So say I want to make eyelids. Yeah. Odd. Anyway, so I'm going to make eyelids. So I'll make a copy here, like this, and move this to the front again. Control Shift, parentheses. Now what I'll do is I'll either give you one eyelid. What the hell? I can't even create now. It's in some sort of select mode.
Does it look like you're in direct select?
No, I'm not. Really strange. Okay, I'm going to have to go with this. I don't know why it's doing this, but let me just grab this shape and it's already here. Oh, it won't even let me scale. Yeah, it won't let me affect anything. How strange is that?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any solutions, but it's still not.
No selection. What time are we? We're already at 11. I'm just wondering if. Let me just. Well, this is not going to be a very good video to put up on the website, is it?
This will be how to fix this problem.
Yeah, you're going to have to cut this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll definitely cut it.
So now that I've saved it, maybe it's just. Hold on.
Try turning it off and on.
Okay, let me do that. Hold on.
Oh, now it
Feels like a crash. for whatever reason. Anyway, look, I'll just do this quickly so that you guys know how we export stuff. So, okay. So build a full, or what you can do sometimes, actually, which is probably a better way to do it, honestly, is if you just have a full eyelid that you can then mask and work with in After Effects that covers the whole eye, which is usually a good way to do it. So if we just make sure that all of this is grouped, say your nose is grouped, your mouth is a separate group, your ear, oh, I locked all of that, okay. So my ear is a group, and then the neck. So these are all the things. Say, obviously you've got a whole other illustration, and then you've got your eyelid. So what you do next is you select all of this, and you go to your layers, and you go to Release to Layers Sequence. And what this does is it grabs everything and drops it into its own separate layer. And because you group it, everything in the group gets dropped into one layer, so that it's all together. And what I do is I just drag it outside of here, and I get rid of this thing, so that now I've got it all lined up. Then I name them, and they all come in position then when you bring it into After Effects, so that they all come in as layers on their own. In their own right, so then you can move them around, and then in After Effects you can convert them into shape layers and work away from there. That's kind of it, really. The only last thing, just so you guys know, when you're exporting from, God damn it, I want this soon. Let me just do a new one. When you're exporting from Illustrator into After Effects, it's a single object, or it'll say things like wheels that you want to rotate. It'll always center everything on this point here. This is your center point of your comp. So if I wanted to do export a wheel, if I bring this into After Effects, it'll use this as the rotation point, and then you have to go and you have to try and find that point in After Effects, and it's just kind of a pain. So what you do is, in your selection, in your alignment tool, you can, if you go down to Show Options, you can align to your artboard, which is this thing here. This is your artboard. If you go to your artboard settings, you can see, where's my artboard? There. So these are your artboards. So you see those are selected. You can create new ones, you can delete them, you can do lots of things with artboards. But for now, let's just say this is your artboard, this is your center point. So when you align to the artboard, you can do this, and it aligns it directly to the center point of your comp. So that when you bring that into After Effects and you want to rotate it, it'll rotate perfectly around that center point, and you won't have to try and find it and play with it and get it to work by eye. That's kind of it, really. Is there anything you guys want to know? I learned some new things too. Everybody's learning, but also there's some new stuff with this Illustrator that I don't understand yet, so I have to, they're always upgrading and things, so I need to work through it. Anything? You guys want to know anything else?
What is all this stuff on the right?
What are the? Oh, this is your stroke. This is your stroke.
Yeah.
So this is obviously your stroke, and your stroke is controlled by these colors here. So if you want to make that a bright yellow, you can, and if you flip it, it does that. So this controls all of that, and you've got a ton of options there. You can, if you do a rectangle tool, you can, round the corners, and you can align the stroke to different things, and then also you can dash it, and you can control, all the different things with that dash, which is nice, which is really useful too. And also, if you want, you can add arrowheads, which is also really useful if you're doing like infographics and things. You can add an arrow, and you can scale those, and you know, even if you wanted to. Now the arrow has to go on an open end though. So right here I can't put an arrow here because, oh, you can. Learning new stuff. Yeah. So I don't know how you would move that though, or position it, because it's got no way of moving that along the path. So usually if you delete that point, you know, it'll end up there on the edges. So usually the end points are where it sticks the arrows. And you can do things like that. And then it's also got these kind of brushes, or I consider kind of different modes that you can change for the line, and that these can be really useful too. And then if you find something that you really like, say, you know, let me turn off these arrows. So say you've got a shape that you really like, you can, if you go to here, if you go here to Object, you can, where are we going here? Object Path, and then you just go Outline Stroke, and what it does is it creates an outline of that. Now you can't edit it anymore; it's gone, as far as an editable object is. But it's giving you your path now, so you can play away with that, and you can, you know, do different things. Export it to After. You can bring it, yeah, because I'm not sure that these come over to After Effects. I don't think they do. They don't. So, so in the same way that you outline font, I suppose I should really show you guys how to do that too. So if you've got a piece of font, you know, that you need to bring or send or do whatever, what you do is create outlines. Boom! It gives you, now your font is outlined. It's not editable anymore, but these are objects now, so you can mess with these and change them, and you know, do whatever you want with them, and create new fonts and, you know, what have you. But it's good to outline, especially for print and things. It's always good to outline your fonts.
For Macs too.
Yeah,
You
you
have
to outline font. Yeah.
It's very unique that way.
Yeah. Okay.
'Cause of the-
Yeah. And then over here you got your transparencies, which work the same as After Effects or in Photoshop, which is, you know, your opacity. And then your gradient. Now gradient is really awkward. I don't know why they make it as awkward as they do. To try and get colors to work, and it can be really finicky. Like this is how I do it. So you have to go back in there, and now you can kind of work away with it. Your hexadecimal references in Illustrator become more important than they do in Photoshop or anything like that. Just grabbing your hex references and then dropping them into your gradient, you can kind of get a bit more control over it, because it is kind of an awkward thing. And then yeah, there's your transparency. Well, we don't have cloud, which is a shame. What else is here? Yeah, these things are kind of cool. You can set up your swatch or your symbols, which are just, you can create a symbol if you create something. I can't even remember how to do this. I haven't done it in forever.
You just drag it into the symbols.
Is that how you do it? Yeah. You can create, so anything you create that's vector, you can turn that into a symbol now, and you can just drag it off. So you can have whole libraries of things as symbols that you can just drag out into your comp and just work away. Your brushes, you can download these. They're interesting. They're finicky though, and I don't really like them too much because they do weird things. Let me see. But people do cool. Yeah, people do cool stuff with them. You can get a kind of a painterly look in Illustrator.
We've also got scatter settings in the brushes, so if you want to like do like sort of like duplicate particle effect, you can create your objects and then use the brush settings to splash stuff around or have an individually move each object around.
Yeah, I don't play with these too much, but James, you can talk a little bit more about it to it. But yeah, and there's your swatches. You know, set up your Pantones, throw your swatches in, and you can just add them to things. You know, and the cloud is great because you can just grab stuff from the cloud, and also Adobe Cooler you can grab stuff. If you've got your cloud set up and you sign into Adobe Cooler and you're signed into Illustrator, your color settings come from there into this, and you can just work away. So it's just looking for it now, but you won't find it. What else is here? Yeah, your color guides are great, because if you pick a color, it'll give you options. That kind of, it's kind of rudimentary enough, but it's kind of cool. There's a lot there you can play around with. I won't go through it, but you know, it's really interesting. So what else is here? And then your color, you know, it's your standard color wheel or whatever. But again, like your hex stuff, and there's a lot more useful here. Is there anything else? I mean, there's your artboard stuff. You can, in the same way that you can copy objects, you can copy artboards. You can drag them around, and it'll copy entire contents. The one thing it doesn't copy is guides, for whatever reason. So you have to bring your guides over after. And that's kind of it. Is there anything else? Anybody has questions on? Okay, I'm here if you need to ask me anything. So you're going to have to heavily edit this thing. How do I? Oh shit! Did it stop?
No. It's just down in the.
Oh yeah.
It, like, way
I did.
Way down in the corner.
I did it as a joke, and.